Hi, I'm with Barbara and I'm in Carlsbad in the United States, and we've just had a very illuminating discussion. Fellow peacemakers on the journey, I'd say. Barbara's going to talk a little bit about her views on peace. So what do you think about peace there, Barbara?
I think peace is a resting of the soul. It's when you are at rest because you're not conflicted about everything. And conflict is just a matter of constantly choosing and not knowing which way to choose. So if you know that everything is one thing, you know how to choose loving kindness.
Yes.
You know how to choose a sense of justice, a sense of being one and being correct within yourself. And as you say it, correct being a term, which of course implies judgment, but it's just feeling right about yourself. And I think that we get so bombarded by the messages in our culture that are so against that. They're always asking us to judge right and wrong and us and them. And when you do that, you lose it. You lose your way. So I just think you need to just have an ethical core and constantly be aware of the fact that these things are happening all around you. And you have to actually experience this to know it. You can't just, someone can't tell you that, you have to experience it. So how do you experience that? How do you experience that feeling where you know? And I think you have to go into silence. You have to be quiet. There's no other way to do it.
As we were sort of talking about before too, most people are kept very busy, or there's a lot of noise around
Right.
people, and particularly with children,
Right.
where they don't know what to do with silence. How do we help children come into a space where A, they can be appreciative of different viewpoints, and secondly, tapping into their own core of virtues like you were mentioning before? What would you recommend?
Well, I think our children today are too pushed and they're too busy.
Yeah.
So what happens is when a child is happily engaged in some kind of creative play where they're like coloring or not really accomplishing anything, like finishing a homework paper or doing something, they're labeled lazy, or they don't have any ambition, or they're not going to make any money with those skills that they're using, and that has to stop. We have to stop labeling children who daydream as lazy.
Yep.
And this goes for adults too. Adults who sit quietly are not lazy. And there's a difference there. And then I think the TV has to go off, and they have to be allowed to be quiet. And we don't really turn off the TV because we want them entertained. We don't want to have to bother with guiding or leading because we're busy. We're busy with our constant noise. So the child is full of constant noise. I think another way is to get out in nature. I mean, was it Wordsworth who said, getting and spending, we lay waste our powers, and little we see in nature that is ours. If we never have time to go out and hear a bird sing, or we hear the waves in the ocean, we lose it. We lose our perspective, we lose everything. So silence is always the same. It's always right now, and it's quiet. You can go inside yourself, you can have some awareness. And we need to have that in order to have peace and to grow.
And you were saying earlier on, which I overheard you talking about, was the importance of expression. That people, need to learn to express themselves a lot more, rather than just joining, in a sense, glee clubs like on Facebook, where everybody's looking for those who agree with them, rather than embracing diversity through different viewpoints. Would you like to comment a little bit more on that self-expression?
Well, I think that it's nice to learn about math and science and physics and nature and all. I think it's wonderful. I mean, I personally just love nature and medicine and all the scientific things. I love to read the scientific magazines. But that's good. But you also have to learn how to think and organize your thoughts and use language, because this is how we communicate. If you can't organize your thoughts and think and express yourself and understand when other people are trying to talk to you, there's no communication. So there's just this confusion where people assume that you know what they're thinking, and you don't.
Yeah. Now, you've come from a teaching background.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background as a teacher, and also what your current thoughts are regarding the gun issue and the violence we're seeing in schools these days?
Okay, well,
Is there any article in there about?
We're just interviewing, but you take it, gorgeous.
Oh, okay.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because I'm mentioned in some article.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go
No,
for
this
it.
is not. This is the LA, not the.
We're just doing an interview at the moment, so yeah, you're right though, no worries. So going back to teaching
Okay,
and school
I
violence.
have taught children how to read. I've taught children in junior high school in Baltimore, which is a tough area. I have tutored children how to write essays because they go to college and they can't get through the basic essay program, which is required for everything else because they've never been taught how to write a sentence or a paragraph or express themselves. They can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting because what I discovered when I was teaching these 5-year-olds how to read, or 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever, is that the reason that most of them couldn't read is because someone told them they couldn't read.
So suggestions, it's very
The
powerful.
suggestion, if
Yeah.
you empower a child and say you can do this and then give them the tools to do it and have patience, they will do it. You don't need a tutor, you just need to be there for them.
Yeah.
You need to encourage.
Yeah.
They need to have positive reinforcement. As soon as you tell them you can't do it and you're not as good as this person and therefore you should sit over there and be
Yeah.
with the dumb kids, you've lost it.
Yeah.
You can't do that to little children. As far as the junior high kids go, what they need is family. They need the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the aunt, the uncle. They need people around them to believe in them and help
Yeah.
them. If they feel deserted and left, it's over.
Yeah. What about the violence we've seen in the schools lately? What do you think? What do you think of that?
You know, when I taught junior high, there was some violence, and that was many years ago. This was a bad area. There was fighting and carrying on. But a lot of that comes from being frustrated and being told that you're a failure and being told there's no hope for you and being constantly sent to the office and punished all the time and feeling hopeless. I think that violence arises out of a fear and anger. So if you can teach positive reinforcement and good things and we had better schools where maybe the kids had gardens and they were able to have space and were not crowded into their rooms like a bunch of rats in a cage, there would be less anger and violence. We need to put our money and our attention in the schools, not on stadiums and sports events.
Yeah. What do you think of peace education, the idea of peace education in schools?
I think it's a really great idea. The problem is that I think that there's a certain segment of society that will be so against it, accusing you of being communist or being liberal or being something, that I think it's probably not going to happen. And I think it's sad. What I think what we can do is we can teach peace in other areas, we should try to teach it in schools. But I mean, certainly if a teacher gets up there and starts talking about the middle way or, this or Tao or anything, that it's just not, it's not going to go over because people are so angry all the time. But if we could just, I think, example is really important. It's example. So if we can be what we want the world to be,
Yeah.
if we can speak peace, we can act peace, we can emit peace. This, I think, affects children. It certainly affects pets. It affects babies. I mean, babies know if the people around them are angry and confused.
That's right.
Pets know. They run for cover. So if you're always just being the peace that you want to see in the world, I think that's more effective than getting up in a classroom and trying to force it on kids where the parents are going to get mad at you.
What do you think of just the last couple of questions? The guns issue here in the United States.
Well, it's insane. And I think it's indicative of a deeper problem in America, where we're always fighting against something, and there's us and them, and we have to get them before they get us. And you see it on the news all the time. Oh my gosh, North Korea, Iran, somebody might get a nuclear bomb, we better bomb them first. You see it all the time. So you should have a semi-automatic rifle so you can what? shoot somebody 100 times, I don't understand why that would remotely be important. So telling teachers that they should kill people is insane. You can't have peace with violence.
No, that's true. Last question is, you said you had an experience of oneness. Could you just explain a little bit about what actually happened for you that gave you that sense that we're all one?
Yes. When you leave your body, because I've had actually 2 of those things happening to me. One was when I was very young. I was only 3, so that's kind of, it still left me changed. And then another one was when I was like 45. And both times, when you leave your body, there's this, automatically you think, oh, that is so funny the way I overreacted to everything. And you just laugh. How could I have been so silly to think that that mattered?
Yeah.
When it didn't. It was like silly to get all caught up in that silly drama that didn't matter. Somebody said something, my feelings were hurt, I didn't get what I wanted, my birthday card didn't come on time. I mean, it's like laughable. So that you leave your body and you understand that everything is one thing. Everybody's child is your child. Everybody's the same as you. You're all one person. And there's this great joy in that. There's this vibratory joy that just is ever happening. There's no time, there's no space. It's always one thing. There's no yesterday, there's no tomorrow, because everything's happening right now. There's only one moment, one always now sort of thing going on. And that's really hard to explain to people that have that experience. They just don't get it.
Yeah.
So once you understand that, you realize the importance of being here right now and living in the moment and being aware, and everything is one, and that really the length of life is totally irrelevant. It's the quality of life. Because life is life. When you leave your body, it's still life. It's just different. There's no like death. You're not gonna like die and never exist anymore. That's no. Because that's just what you experience. It's just marvelous to know that and to go through your life knowing that.
And if more people knew that, do you think we would have peace in the world?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you think that little child over there in Syria is the same as my child, you wouldn't want to bomb them and deny them food.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Almost a miracle, I'd say. But thank you so much, and may this interview inspire others to understand that we really are all one, and when we change, the world changes.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.